Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Thank you for clicking on this video. I am your host, Commander Claw, all about EDH deck building, and I'm here to bring you 5 cards that probably should have never been printed because of several reasons. Most of them because they're super powerful. I think they're very powerful, or they might limit your deck building prowess. Something along those lines. So I'm going to go through 5 cards, mainly from the Final Fantasy set, that I just think are great and awesome and bad at the same time. Let's begin with them. Feel free to comment below on any other cards in the Final Fantasy universe that you think they're just a little bit too overpowered. So, Celes Rune Knight for 1 in Mardu colors. The reason why I think this card is overpowered because it is literally 3 abilities on 1 card. It's literally the deck itself from all the abilities, right? You do not need to add any other card to really do what it needs to do. Like, I just think it's going to limit players to learn how to deck build to actually make a cool deck because she actually does everything that you need to do. So let's talk about it real quick. For 1 in Mardu, 4/4 body, legendary human wizard knight. It says when Celes enters, discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards +1. Whenever 1 or more other creatures you control enter, if 1 or more of them enter from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So her first ability, when she enters, you get the wheel. You discard any number of cards and you get to go +1 on card advantage. That is amazing. That's actually really good for Mardu colors because Mardu is known to put stuff in the graveyard, discard them, and you want to reanimate them. So she's literally reanimator, all on 1 creature in your command zone, in the 3 best colors for reanimation, and it's card advantage. Okay. Then it's a discard outlet. Okay. And I'm still not done. The second paragraph of ability says, whenever 1 or more other creatures you control enter, if 1 or more of them enter with a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures. So you get to power boost a creature that comes from the graveyard that you purposely discarded through your wheel effect, or whenever you milled yourself, because there's a bunch of cards that can do milling, right? And there's a lot of creatures that have the unearth ability or encore or jumpstart, and they just get a power boost. I mean, is that overpowered? I think you pretty much do everything that you want to do on a commander. I think it's cool for your first time, but I just think if players who are trying to learn more cards fast and like the Magic Universe, and that is a commitment, you won't get that exposure. Not with this card. This card literally does everything for you in the command zone. Pretty cool though. So just to give you an example of when I say it is 3 cards in 1 card, let's talk about Chainer Nightmare Adept, the second to the left. It is a creature for 2 in red black, 3/2 body, legendary human minion. All you have to do is discard a card, and you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard this turn, activate only once each turn. That works well with Celes, right? Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until end of turn. So these 2 paired on the battlefield, you literally discard a creature card that you want to reanimate, and it comes into the battlefield with haste and a +1/+1 counter. Easy. Next up is Brass Tunnel Grinder for 2 in a red. When it ETBs, discard any number of cards and draw that many cards +1. That is your will effect. Same thing as Celes Rune Knight. I'm not even going to read the last part because it's not even relevant. Anyway, next up, Cactaur's Crusade for 3 and 2 white is an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Oh man, power boost, creatures that are entering the battlefield. You're not even like using other spells to do this ability. Celes Rune Knight is all these cards as 1 card in your command zone. Moving on to the next one. So we got Jumbo Cactaur for 5 and 2 green, 1/7. It's a plant. It says 10,000 needles is its ability. Whenever this creature attacks, it gets plus 9,999 +0 until end of turn. Cool. It gets up to 1,000 power when it goes to attack. What? I mean, yes, that is cool, but there's so many broken things happen once you have a creature with 1,000 power. You're not even like using other spells to give it +5/+5. Like you just it's all on a creature. And if you think 7 mana is expensive to do that, it's not. And what's crazy is it's not even a legendary creature. So if it gets copied because it's in a Simic deck, you could have multiple creatures that are attacking getting plus 9,999. Hmm. Oh, oh. Or maybe even Gruul, where you can make instant copies of creatures, non-token copies of creatures that enter the battlefield tapped and attacking. Like, well, tapped and attacking, it won't get the boost, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's ways to make duplicates of this creature just because it's non-legendary. So let's talk about ways to abuse the 1,000 power. So we got Gerard Golgari Lich Lord. I always want to say it's Jared. Whatever, yeah, I always want to say that for some strange reason. Anyway, for Golgari, for 2 black, 2 green, legendary creature, zombie elf, he gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. Cool, he's a 2/2 body, right? That's not what we care about. Anyway, for 1 black and green, sacrifice another creature. Each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. Sacrifice a swamp and a forest, return Jarrod from the graveyard to your hand. Well, obviously, you can predict the scenario here. If you have Jumbo Cactaur and he goes to attack, and you have Gerard on the battlefield, and you pay his 3 mana to sacrifice another creature, all your opponents lose 1,000 life. Game over. Next up, we have Altar of Dementia. Sacrifice a creature. Target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power from the top of their library into their graveyard. You just milled them out. Easy peasy. And this is all at instant speed. Mind you. Next up, we got Mage Slayer for 1 in red and green. It's an equipment that says whenever a creature attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to player or planeswalker it's attacking. Equip 3. So you just equip this to Jumbo Cactaur. It gets its attack trigger from itself. Then you use the equip trigger. Game over for an opponent that you planned on attacking. Cool ways to make somebody lose. I just think it's too easy. So my biggest problem with this card is it's too easy. There's too many legendary creatures out there. Most players probably have a deck filled with legendary creatures or not even thinking about it that they are legendary creatures. That's what I'm saying. So when I tell you Louisoix sacrifice for 1 blue is an instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a legendary creature or pay 2 mana. Counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or non-creature spell. Now, if it just said counter target activated ability or triggered ability, it would be okay. But it also says non-creature spell. That goes for planeswalkers, artifacts, instants, sorceries. Yeah, you're not limited. All for a legendary creature. I just think it's the amount of legendary creatures is too easy for really this payoff. But a good card. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna add it in my deck. Now let me show you some creatures that can really use this card. Now, I'm not going to hate on this card way too much, but this is the good thing about this card. There are commanders that have their own death trigger, and you want them to hit the graveyard. So it is beneficial to Louisoix to sacrifice to counter whatever triggered ability, activated ability, and a non-creature spell that you may need at that time. Then get a payoff later when you sacrifice your commander. So let's talk about Tolu's Clever Conductor, a really cool Esper commander from the streets of New Capenna. It is Esper control, and you get to play cards later on, right? That's the way I look at this commander. It connives when it ETBs, and whenever you discard 1 or more cards, exile them from your graveyard. Then when Tolu's dies, put the cards exiled with it into your owner's hand. So you're literally stashing cards to cast them later on. And Esper Colors is not one of my favorite because I lost to it way too many times because Esper is powerful at control and they have soft locks, and it's just not fun going against Esper commanders in my opinion. So I will, if you ever play against me and you play an Esper commander, I'm coming at you straight up. Next up we got Hitagetsu and Kairi for 2 blue and a black, 5/4 ogre, demon, dragon. All these creature types on 1 commander gives you a bunch of opportunities for creature synergy. However, this creature wants to hit the graveyard, right? And when you do, you have the opportunity to drain an opponent of its life total. And you get to play a instant or sorcery if that card is an instant or sorcery, right? So Hitagetsu and Kairi is just a great card, a great commander, fun commander, and it wants to die to be able to finish off opponents. Beneficial Louisoix Sacrifice. Next up we have is the Maleficent Restless Revenant. Pretty much he has a death trigger himself, and when you do, you create a 1/1 spirit. So there's a bunch of spirits out there that have crazy abilities, and spirit creatures are generally known for always coming back to the battlefield some way, somehow, effectively and efficiently, because they're spirits. They're already here in this world. It's just a nice commander that can just take over the game. But I think with Louisoix Sacrifice, Louisoix, I do not know how to say this. It's just a last-ditch effort to win the game. I mean, overall, this card is a control card, a counterspell, a very powerful one. Too easy. So, the main issue with this card, it is an artifact that has an additional combat phase. The reason why I think it lacks or it holds, it can stop the deck builder's ability because now every color can have extra combat phases when it was generally just limited to the red color pip. Now, if black has an additional combat phase without even having red in it, blue, green, white, because the Genji Glove can give you an additional combat phase. Who knows? It's not limited anymore. You're breaking the color pie, right? You're breaking the color pie and you're able to do things. It opens up the world. I can't hate on that. I mean, trust me, I can't hate on that. Can't hate on that. A creature with double strike and mono white having an additional combat phase, that's probably well needed for the competition of other cards and commanders that are out there. But, just because you have it in your deck doesn't mean another player has it in their deck and it's not even red. Just saying. Now, just to give you an example of commanders that do not have red in them, that have attack triggers, that become even more powerful when they get an additional combat phase, that means it's game over if they are equipped with Genji Glove. Like Agent Frank Horrigan for 5 black, green, 8/6 body, legendary mutant warrior. He has trample. He has indestructible as long as it's attacked as this turn. Then when he enters the battlefield or attacks, proliferate twice. And he's on an 8/6 body. Yeah, this is another infect commander. Or even if you don't infect, he's still an 8/6 body with indestructible and trample. Anyways, when you infect, if you have an additional combat phase, that is a total of, oh my gosh, 4 times. Proliferate twice on the first attack, then your second combat phase, that's 4 times. That's possibly, just as an example, 4 poison counters a player could get if they only had 6. Game over. It just makes your, combat phases even more diddlier. Anixia, Hand of Erebos, is another super popular commander. I'm not even going to go over her. I do actually have a video on her. Go ahead and check out that video. Moving on to my last one. Lightning Army of One. This card is straight chaos. Chaos. It's a love-hate relationship, honestly. I do like the card. I do like chaos combat. But I don't think it needed this many keywords. That's my issue with it. Lightning Army of One for 1, red and a white, 3/2 body, legendary human soldier, has first strike, trample, and lifelink. That means she is getting through. She is doing damage. Okay? She also has stagger. Whenever lightning deals combat damage to a player until your next turn, if a source will deal damage to that player or permanent that player controls, it deals double that damage instead. Yeah. So everybody who's ever dealing damage is going to be able to do double the damage to a player or permanent after she makes contact to a player. So are you incentivized? You're incentivized to attack an opponent. Guess what? You got first strike and trample and lifelink, so you're going to gain life. But if a player, this is political too. So if a player lets you hit them so you can trigger their ability, work with another player who may have a powerful burn spell and deal 10 damage and it turns into 20, y'all can get creative here. It's just chaos. And this doesn't end till your next turn. So it incentivizes chaos. I'm cool with the card. It's just she has first strike, trample, and lifelink, so you don't have to add cards to give her these abilities. It's just built on the commander, straight up.